Alright, today we are going to build ccaprice for Windows. A lot of work has been put into actually being able to properly and easily create a library for Windows, because on Windows the platform is very minimalistic. There's no package manager in Windows. There's no proper way to create a build environment. You can download programs such as Microsoft Visual Studio, but those aren't exactly very flexible in terms of being able to do things from the command line point of view, which is a lot more flexible and a lot easier. So ccaprice is able to obtain its own build environment through an easy bat file, which is actually an embedded Visual Basic Script file using some hackery. So I'm going to show you how easy it is and how simple it is to build ccaprice from Windows. So the first step is getting to GitHub. And once you're on GitHub, you're going to want to download ccaprice. I'm logged into my account, so there's a clone in Windows button, but I often find it's easier just to use the zip download button, which will give you a nice zip. You save this to your desktop, and once you're saved to the desktop, it's quite easy from there. I didn't go to my desktop, unfortunately. It went to my downloads. Wrong downloads directory. So we'll just move this here. Okay, so the first step is extracting this, which is very easy. It's simple as drag drop, and here you go. Here's the entire library. Now the next step is actually compiling it. Now you cannot execute the bat directly from here. Instead, you must use a command prompt. So you open up a command prompt window and you cd to the directory. Once you're there, it's easy as calling makefile.bat. Now makefile.bat will notice that there's no build environment present. It'll download one, and you can change the mirrors in the bat file. There's a nice list of mirrors. It's downloading all these files from SourceForge, so it's using a SourceForge mirrors. So let's just wait for this to download. GCC core and core utils is amongst the two that will take the longest to download because they're the largest. And then once everything is downloaded, it will extract all the LZMA files and then all the tars that are extracted from those LZMA tiles. It'll clean up the directory by deleting all of the compressed LZMAs and tars because they're not needed anymore. They're extracted. And once they're extracted, you're going to be presented with a nice bash screen. It'll instantly start a bash instance, and you'll see that right here in a moment. And boom, we're in bash. Now the first thing you'll notice is you can use your normal ls command, and you can do stuff like file make file, and it will it'll give you all the information about that. You can use uname and stuff like this, and it'll build this build environment for you. And the only thing you have to do from here is type make. Make will start the build process. And there is some warnings because the Windows port isn't exactly complete yet. And we'll just wait for this to build. And there you go. The library is fully built now. And to validate this, you can check it's an AR archive, the lib, and you can actually, if you want to, you can open up the AR archive. So I'm going to show you what the directory structure looks like. You'll notice that we now have this .build folder. It was created. It's about 104 megabytes in size, and you'll notice that it's a nice MSYS environment with MingW32. Here's your bin directory, and Now the neat thing about this is if you're working with ccaprice anywhere, here's the lib directory, here's the lib I should say. If you're working with ccaprice, again, as long as you have this build environment, you never have to actually download it again unless you really want to. And I'm going to show you how to do that in case the build environment gets messed up. So we'll go to here and we will run the makefile.bat, and you'll notice that since the build directory is already there, it doesn't have to download it. So we're already in bash, as you can see. So what if we do need to re-download it? Well, one way is you can just delete the build environment, the folder, and it will reobtain it. Or alternatively, if you're working within the command line, instead of having to write a lengthy function to remove all the files within the folders, and then the folders, and then all the other files in the root folder, and then finally the folder, since you cannot delete a folder with files in it, it has to be empty. There is an easier solution, and I'm going to show you how to do that. It's simple as deleting something called env within the build folder. And the env is a neat little thing. It's essentially, it implements function clear and it exports the correct path to the bin directory, and it simply calls clear. So this is an RC file, and it's what's executed when bash is invoked, and essentially it creates the function, it exports the path, and then it clears the console. And it does all this, and that's how you get your build environment, that's how you get your bash instance up. So simply removing this file is all you really need to do in order to re-invoke the download, and I'll show you. If we now run the bat file, you'll notice that it will, no build environment present. Now it'll download the new build environment, and it will handle all of this for you. So that is essentially the process to building ccaprice on Windows. No, I am not, and no, ccaprice will never officially be able to be compiled within Visual Studio itself. It uses a lot of GCC specific extensions, and rewriting them is something I don't intend to do anytime in the distant future unless it really needs to be done. This is all handled very easily through an MSYS and a MingW32 session. There is plans for future support for 64-bit Windows, which would require MSY or Ming64, MingW64, but I don't intend to support that unless it becomes something that I absolutely want to support, and there would need to be a large user base of people wanting me to actually support that. So I'm just going to run make clean here, and we'll finish this off. And that is essentially the process to building it. Once you've got your lib, you can use it wherever you want, and you can just delete ccaprice if you don't want it anymore. That's essentially all, but I'm going to bring this back just for a second, and I'm going to show you what you need in order to properly create a program with ccaprice. You need the include folder, obviously, and you need the SYS and the internal folder. Include are the base includes for the library. Internal are the internal files for the compilers. They implement the intrinsics. Unfortunately, we cannot use the ones provided by the compiler because they include standard headers that I can't necessarily guarantee are going to not cause name conflicts. You can disable them, but then if you disable no STD includes, then it won't find them. And then it also won't find the intrinsics header, so it becomes a mess. And then SYS implements the system stuff, or the system headers like atomic, and then you have all your other stuff like FCNTL, FENV, float, all these, which are obviously accessed with bits / blah. And so far, the 3 available architectures are ARM, x86-32, also known as i386, i686, i486, etc., and x86-64. There is plans to support MIPS, and there is plans to support some other architectures in the distant future. You don't need anything else when you're using the library unless you want to build from source each time, in which case you will just want the entire thing. And there is a style guide for anybody interested in possibly implementing features or extending ccaprice beyond its current capabilities. And that is it for the tutorial on ccaprice on Windows and how to use it. And I can't seem to stop the cam. How convenient.